always relaxed, even if he's stuttering. So I could not couch his behavior as someone that is on an amphetamine. So as far as Adderall goes, I'm going to go no. Is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics, on testosterone and on male performance. Subscribe to the channel if you're into that stuff. Please hit the bell to get notified of all future content. And by the way, like the video whether you like it or not. I mean, dislike it, fine, but like it if you appreciate anything I'm about to say. If you didn't get to catch the last live stream, I announced a 20% off special on the Torque Stack, and that is still live. Will be live this week. You can use the coupon code 29 to save 20% off a powerful nootropic stack. Livecortex.com or in the description of this video. So what I wanted to do is introduce kind of a new analysis of people's brain function into this channel called Smart Drugs or Not, where I'm basically going to look at popular people that we all know and love or hate, and analyze their brain performance based on their eye movements, their verbal fluency, their reference capacity, and a host of other factors to determine whether or not they are using nootropics and what particularly I think they're using. Over the years, in consulting men on using nootropics and using nootropics myself for just about 16 years, I've come to learn which nootropics people probably are using, but more importantly, which nootropics target certain brain states. And I think the best way to start is to do an interview with Elon Musk himself, one of the smartest people on our planet, arguably, who has been known to drink Diet Coke, and we'll get to that, but maybe taking some nootropics. So I just want to jump into this interview and let's analyze kind of how he's functioning. I want to point out a couple things relating to how Elon talks, and we'll decide if Elon is on smart drugs or not.
In symbiosis, it's the data rate. When you communicate, especially with a phone, you're moving your thumbs very slowly. So you're like moving your two little meat sticks at a rate that's maybe 10 bits per second, optimistically 100 bits per second. And computers are communicating at the gigabit level and beyond.
Have you seen evidence that the technology is actually working, that you've got a richer, sort of higher bandwidth connection, if you like, between external electronics and a brain than has been possible before?
Yeah. So the fundamental principles of reading neurons, sort of doing read-write on neurons with tiny electrodes have been demonstrated for decades.
Okay, so one thing I want to point out right away is that one thing that Elon tends to do is stutter a little bit. You know, if you've watched any of Elon's videos, there are certain points at which I think his brain gets a little overwhelmed with the amount of information that it contains and what he's trying to kind of deliver to an interview or whatever, and that, you know, leads to stuttering. And that doesn't mean that his brain isn't working really well. What I would wager is that his brain is working entirely too well. When my brain is working very fast, whether it's with a nootropic stack or not, typically it tends to be with a nootropic stack in the mix, especially some of the racetams and then perhaps methylxanthine like theobromine, then it is a little harder for me to be very verbally fluent. It may be best for me just to execute some work because my brain is working entirely too fast. Verbal fluency requires a little bit of a slowing down of brain energy. Like, you need that good brain performance, but you also have to be in flow as well. The other interesting thing that I've always noticed about Elon when in interviews is you can tell a person has good solid brain energy, like their energy is lively, when their eyes are persistently open. They may still blink, but it's almost like their eyes are, you can see the energy in their eyes. And if you look very closely, I'll mute this and look at Elon's eyes when he talks. His eyes are open. Like, you can just sort of tell that he is sustainably using his brain, his sustainably in thought. There doesn't seem to be a fatigued person behind those eyes. Like that sort of stuff, right? When people open their eyes at what you may look like even excessive levels, but you wouldn't be able to tell just looking at them unless you're into this sort of stuff. You can tell that their brains are working in an energized capacity. All right, let's continue.
And it's really, there's no good product that actually does a good job and is high bandwidth and safe and something that you could buy and would want to buy. So, but in it, the way to think of the Neuralink device is kind of like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch that's where we take out a sort of a small section of skull about the size of a quarter, replace that with what in many ways really is very much like a Fitbit, Apple Watch, or some kind of smartwatch thing. but with tiny wires, very tiny wires, wires so tiny it's hard to even see them.
Okay, so he's stuttering a lot right in this particular sequence, and you can tell that what I think is happening relating to brain function is he has this whole picture of what he's trying to explain to this guy in his head, right? He's probably thought about it hundreds of times and can lay it out very clearly on a piece of paper if somebody requested it. However, I think that exceptionally smart people, and especially people that's brains are working very fast, they sort of are worried about whether or not the information is going to register in the people that they're talking to at the level that they want them to register it and at the level that they're thinking about it in their head. So it makes them a bit apprehensive about what they say. They're just choosy about what they're going to deliver because they're sort of like apprehensive about whether or not people are going to understand them. At the same time, again, this goes back to this idea that Elon is probably the type of guy, and from just analyzing his speech, is the type of guy that has so much going on cognitively and has a lot of information to choose from that he's trying to select his words kind of judiciously, but that's difficult because there's too much information. And this is an article on CNBC.com which explains like Elon Musk's like Diet Coke habit or something, where for the longest time, I guess they've couched this as 368 milligrams of coffee of caffeine each day from soda intake. So that's a good degree of caffeine. You know, those of us that drink coffee, that's like 3.5 cups of coffee. But what this article is contending is that, you know, Musk since like 2022 or something has switched to caffeine-free Diet Coke. At this stage, we're not dealing with the very caffeinated Elon. So what is he taking now? In analyzing Elon's speech, nothing that he's doing as far as like how quickly he's moving or how animated he's being or his eye movement is pointing toward any hardcore amphetamine. So I do not believe that Elon is taking Adderall, and I do not believe he's taking an otherwise pharmaceutical dopamine stimulant like Vyvanse. As you'll see, even though there's more moments where he seems to get flustered on things, because I just think he has entirely too much information in his brain. He's trying to be judicious about what he serves to whoever he's talking about. He's usually always relaxed, even if he's stuttering. So I could not couch his behavior as someone that is on an amphetamine. So as far as Adderall goes, I'm going to go, no, I do not believe Elon Musk is using Adderall. Let's go back into the interview and see if we can decide from his behavior if there are other nootropics or performance enhancers in the mix.
Thing, like a small candle in a vast darkness. That is what appears to be the case. We're in this vast darkness of space, and there's this little candle of consciousness that's only really come about after 4.5 billion years.
Yeah.
And it could just go out. And hopefully the people of Mars will be more enlightened and will not fight amongst each other too much. I mean, I have some recommendations, but which people of Mars may choose to listen to or not. I mean, I would advocate for more of a direct democracy, not a representative democracy, and laws that are short enough for people to understand, and where it is harder to create laws than to get rid of them.
Coming back a bit nearer term.
Now, in that sequence, again, I always come back to this idea that it's hard to say that someone's on like a very hardcore stimulant if they're able to be relaxed. Now, Elon is a very relaxed person. You know, he may talk fast and he may stutter because he's getting overwhelmed with what's in his head, but I think generally he is very relaxed. Now, one of the interesting smart drugs that induces this sort of good brain function, you feel like yourself more, but you don't seem stimulated like you're on Adderall or an otherwise dopamine stimulant, is modafinil. It's entirely possible that Musk is using modafinil, right? It's hard for me to say, directly, but that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's a relatively safe drug to take for most people. They're not going to get side effects if the dose works for them. And considering Elon's own words of working 80 plus hours a week, I would not put it past him to be dosing 100 or 200 milligrams of modafinil. Right? So there's got to be some agent in there. And at this stage, if it isn't caffeine, kind of makes you wonder what it is. If it's modafinil, got it, that would make perfect sense. But otherwise, there may be some other stimulant in the mix that we don't really see. I think Elon generally has the sort of tendency to orient toward is a relaxed kind of position, but also like when there are a lot of things that he's got to pull from his brain, and when he's trying to make a point which he wants the person he's talking to fully understand. Again, he tends to stutter. So probably he could use some optimization of the kind of verbal fluency system. Final assessment on Elon Musk, whether or not he's on smart drugs, would be if there is any compound that I would say that, you know, Musk has the potential to be taking, it would be modafinil. I mean, again, based on how he's operating, based on the energy that he seems to have, and based on the fact that there really isn't much of an improvement in verbal fluency, whereas sometimes he's verbally fluent, but then when he gets in very technical brain states, he's a lot less verbally fluent. I do not think that Elon Musk takes Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin, or any other dopaminergic dopamine reuptake inhibitor pharmaceutical stimulant. I think there is at least a mild possibility that Musk is taking something that slows him down. So there may be some theanine in the mix. There potentially could be some sort of pharmaceutical GABA agent in the mix. There may be some supplements that work on the GABAergic system, like lemon balm, which will inhibit GABA T and allow you to accumulate more GABA. Those are the kind of things that potentially I see being in the mix with Musk. I think he's one of those people that's brain works very fast, and though he might benefit from taking something like modafinil and maybe taking modafinil, I think at the same time he would benefit from slowing down just a little bit, and he may just be taking somewhat downers, GABAergics effectively. I do not think that Elon Musk is using racetams. I do not think that Elon Musk is using any peptides that modify brain performance. I do not think that Musk is taking choline supplements. I really just don't see that in the way that he's functioning. I think he'd be a lot more consistently verbally fluent if he was taking, you know, some of the cholinergics, etc. But I definitely do see room for what seems to be an energy-inducing, energy-producing chemical. And yes, this may be allowing more extracellular dopamine to be around, but not at the capacity that something like Adderall would allow it, which is why I think ultimately, if anything besides potential GABAergics, I'd say Musk is taking modafinil. Now again, I could be completely wrong. This is just my take on it. Who knows? But that's the beauty and the joy of these videos. Now, as I said in the beginning, the Torque Nootropic Stack, I've got a pretty solid discount for you guys. The coupon code is 20 now, and that will save you 20% off what is probably the most purchased nootropic stack on the internet. I mean, since we launched it, we've been blowing out of inventory. People just want a solid, sustainable nootropic that they can take that gives them mental energy, stimulation, verbal fluency, motivation to do work, right? To actually get things done. You can go check out all the reviews posted on YouTube to see what people think about the Torque stack. People really love it. Again, coupon code on the top right hand of the screen, 20 now, will save you 20% off a bottle of the Torque stack. Go get a bottle, get it on auto ship. You will love it. If you need to hire me to help you formulate nootropics regimens, analyze your TRT protocol, analyze your blood work, a host of things in between, all around human performance and optimization, you can do that at livecortex.com. If you're really wanting to get further your understanding of nootropics, I just put all of our digital books, which I wrote, that give you access to high-powered nootropic stacks on the homepage of livecortex.com. And again, all this stuff can be found in the description of this video. Appreciate you being with me. More smart drugs or not coming soon, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.